like that, which will go into the course, which one needs to invest on. Yeah, so thank you again. So let me move on to the actual topic. And you can see there as to what is the definition of self-care, and it's very you can read it, the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being. Like it is said when we fly, that you have to first wear your seat belts and then take care of others. So it's protecting your own well-being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress. So this is very important because lack of self-care, and there are a lot of myths around self-care, and what I'm going to be unraveling today is about the myth of selfishness and self-care, the linkage to it, because there is also a constant sort of a feeling that is taking care of yourself or self-care equal to being selfish. And so we'll bring out the differences between selfishness and self-care, and that in fact helps us therefore become more expressive about our thoughts, and again finally leading to self-reliance, isn't it? So lack of self-care during the times of stress, it really has a very, very negative effect in one's ability to handle not only self, but also to show compassion towards others. Unless we're able to take care of ourselves, especially during those stressful situations, we are not able to really be compassionate with people around you. How many of you have faced this, isn't it? So the compassion of self-compassion, whatever we spoke yesterday, it would come only if you take care of yourself. And because what does self-care ensure? And which is something that I'm going to be really dealing with in the non-violent communication piece, which I'll be taking a 2-day workshop on, which is on taking care of your own needs. Okay, and there is a lot of difference between what is your need, understanding the difference between your need and feeling. There is a difference in that. So if what it means for a person to take self-care, protecting one's own well-being, is that means your own needs are taken care of, and we are therefore operating, from a state of inner balance. See, if our needs, we are able to take care of our needs, there is a sense of inner balance, and there, with the result, we are equipped to manage others' needs. Many times what happens is, without taking care of our needs, and especially if you look at, say for our moms, mothers, the first thing that comes into my mind is our mothers. They go on taking care of others' needs and totally neglect their own needs. If you take care of your own needs, then, some people are very good at it, balancing that and balancing others' needs very well. And what happens is, there are a lot of people whose self-worth is actually totally linked to just taking care of others and not really taking care of self. So, if you become better equipped, if you take care of your needs, and which results in taking care of others' needs too, with that inner balance. That's what I'm trying to talk about. So, so this we need to understand. So express, and this is very beautiful, expressing oneself is also an essential form of self-care. See, generally we think self-care is taking care of physical, mental. This is what we've been understanding till now. But one of the aspects that is related to self-care is also expressing oneself. It's an essential form of self-care. How many of you really knew this? If you knew it, say wow. And if you didn't know, just type in your comments in the comments box as to what you realized with this statement. Expressing oneself is an essential form of self-care. We think that expressing oneself and expressing our thoughts, emotions also becomes a part of self-care, apart from just probably taking bath or soothing ourselves or just taking actions. Also expression. That's why it is linked to self-reliance, right? That's why self-care is coming as part of self-reliance. Okay, so this we need to understand. So there are a lot of self-care activities that we do, and yesterday we spoke a little bit about it in terms of the last class, I mean, in terms of self-compassion for a masculine kind of a dominant person, or a feminine kind of, what are the kind of activities one would do. So this is basically are those which take care of mental, emotional, and physical health. So this is very clearly understood. And there's a lot of research that is done that if one takes care of all these three, in fact, it helps it helps develop immunity. Maybe we will not get COVID. Okay, so and it has been associated with lower levels of anxiety and depression. So of course, extreme levels is depression, but if you take care of yourself and your needs, and also are able to express, which is also part of self-care, you become less anxious, and also it's found to increase empathy. Empathy is one of the most important aspects of leadership. Today, people talk about quiet leadership. People talk about leaders as coaches, whether in corporate organizations or whether you work, managing your own homes and trying to balance the two. Empathy is definitely empathy. We talk about empathetic listening is definitely one of the most important aspects. And if you do self-care, if you take care of self, that's one aspect that becomes increases, is what is the research saying. Okay, so self-care allows people to take better care of others. This is very, very important. So because we feel that if someone is asking for help, we need to immediately help them. Yeah, it's not bad to help them, but we also need to see if we have taken care of our needs. And if we go on helping others which are without taking care of our own needs, what happens is after a point of time, there is a lot of resentment that, all the time I take care of them, they don't take care of me, and blah, blah, blah. And it just goes on and on. So there's a lot of resentment because at the end of the day, you've not been able to take care of your own needs and not being able to express your own feelings. Taking care of needs and expression of feelings is also a part of, is in fact one of the biggest aspects of self-care. Okay, so having said that, yes, yeah. So Aparna is talking about yin yang of self-compassion. So let's move on to the next aspect of self-care, which is the myth. There is a huge myth around self-care and selfishness. It is very, very existent. It's like a age old kind of a topic that always gets debated. Is self-care equal to selfishness? So if I take care, if someone is asking for help, and if I take care of myself and do not help that person, then I would be called as selfish. How many of us think that way? Do we still think that way? Yes, no, maybe? Or do you have some other thoughts to it? We will just dwell a little bit deeper into this to understand the differences between what is selfishness and what is self-care. So if any one of us thinks that way, okay, you can type in the comment box, after the video is over, even if after you're listening to it later, about what do you feel about self-care and selfishness. And accordingly, this video will actually really sort of clarify that. Okay, so if you look at those differences very beautifully, it comes in the red ones are basically about selfishness, and the green ones is about self-care. And it comes out very clearly that self-care is about taking care of your own feelings, so you do not project them onto others. Because what happens is, when you do not take care of your feelings, it can be an outburst of it that will happen. And with the result, you're not taking care of yourself, and you're not taking care of the people around you either, because that's getting rubbed on to them. So the thing is, there is a ripple effect of something that you feel which you do not express in the way that needs to be expressed. So as I've already said, and I'm repeating it, it's like basically taking care of your feelings, and it gets rubbed onto others if that's not done. So self-care is basic to fulfilling your potential, discovering your purpose, and experiencing joy. So it's that deep that you're experiencing joy. And it also because every time you're able to express yourself, it is also being able to tell people about what is your purpose in some ways, right? It talks about your values. I was talking about self-respect, which is aligned to intrinsic values. So when you're able to express your thoughts and feelings, and when you're able to express your values in a way that it needs to be expressed, then you experience joy, isn't it? And you also experience the purpose that whatever purpose that you have, that is getting expressed, isn't it? So if you talk about selfishness, on the contrary, it's a lot about me, myself, and Irene, right? That movie that is there. So selfishness is having a me mentality in which the person constantly only thinks of their own needs and wants with little, if any, consideration of others and their needs. So the point that I'm trying to make is you are not you're only taking care of your needs and not taking care of others' needs at all, then that could be termed as selfishness. But when you reach a state where you're happy taking care of your needs, it becomes easier to take care of others' needs. So let me just bring this to the left. And so while self-care allows one to open and share with others, selfishness often leads to isolation and loneliness. Because what happens with isolation and loneliness is you're craving for people, you're craving for attention, you're seeking like sort of something that because you're not sharing enough with people, you are anyway taking care of your needs, but it is leading to isolation and loneliness because you're not sharing enough with others after having taken care of yourself. So there is a little bit of arrogance that is involved in the selfishness aspect of it, right? So is self-care selfish? So if we have to understand the aspects of self-care and selfishness, and is self-care selfish, for that we need to remember three things always. Because if we remember that if we take care of self, then it leads to these three things, then it becomes easier for us to first tie our seat belts and then tie others, right? Which is what is expected of us when we fly. Uh, our seat belts are on, and then we have others' seat belts on. So, so what are the three things? Self-care benefits you and everyone in your life. So this is not, see, it's basically, it allows a better kind of you being a better parent, a better daughter, a better child, maybe a better any kind of a role that you're playing, right? Partner, friend. So because what it is resulting is if you are able to take care of yourself, it results probably in a better conversation with your husband, or a better meaningful and a sensible and a sensitive conversation with your child, right? Or it can even be that in the corporate world, your productivity and your desired results have increased because what you're actually exuding is like kind of a healthy energy, which is sort of demonstrating a very healthy behavior. You're constantly, because if you take care of yourself, the kind of energy that you're radiating is that I'm healthy, I'm radiating positive energies, I'm able to do this, I'm able to discuss. So there's a sort of an inner balance. So when you radiate that energy, then people around you are not are only, as I said, it's a ripple effect. They're taking that and also getting involved with it. So the so the thing is that you're in touch with your own feelings, and empathy is also basically increased with this. So that's the first one. And if self-care is done with intention of caring for yourself, not with the intention to harm or take care others. So the first thing you need to remember is it's benefits you and everyone in your life. Second thing is it's done with the intention of caring for yourself, not with the intention to harm or take from others, right? Because selfishness a little bit could be also to sort of maneuver and maybe you talk about cutthroat competition, so you are willing to cutthroat to get on to the top, right? So in self-care, that's not the intention. The energy is very different. So it's about having, you're not the energy doesn't get depleted. You're not depleting your resources by depleting others energies. You are able to handle your own and restore your own energy, and you're able to handle it well because you've taken care of yourself. And as I said, you're modeling a healthy behavior because of that. And finally, self-care builds strength. How does it build strength? Is because you're setting boundaries. You're setting boundaries. So suppose you are engaging with a kind of people or like sort of environment where you need to unnecessarily sort of get too involved, which is not helping you too much. It's also a way of sort of taking care of yourself so that you don't deplete your energy. So you set boundaries to restore your personal energies, and whatever that overwhelming burden that you have, that you need to go there, you need to spend so much time and so much more time which is not required. If you, because in your mind you're very clear that this is the boundary that I set for myself in being wherever that you have to be, so that you restore your energy and at the same time radiate a healthy kind of a behavior. So this is one thing you need to also remember, and you must give yourself permission to take the time you need for you, because every time we say people call you for various events which you're not interested, and every time you say yes, you probably are not setting those boundaries. But when you do self-care, it's building the strength in the sense that you're actually are slowly able to set those boundaries for yourself. And here's a time when you're beginning to say no. When you do the self-care, you're very, very then aware of the time that you have and the kind of things that you need to do. You have a purpose, you have a task, all of that, right? So when all of this is there, when you're unnecessarily sort of getting called into certain things, it's not required for you to say a yes, isn't it? And that's the reason why you start saying a no in a very beautiful way, where people are not going to feel really bad a bit, and they become accepting of even your no, because you're modeling a very healthy behavior. And tomorrow, in fact, when you're radiating that energy, they also pick it up and start saying it, because everyone wants to do that, right? So you're making yourself a priority, not in terms of with intentions are not harmful, but the intentions are that I take care of myself so that I can take care of your needs. I take care of my needs. I express my feelings so I can take care of your needs. So that's the kind of energy. It's like sort of an inner balance. So it's very, very important. If you look at successful people, most of them get up very early in the morning because they're taking care of themselves first before they get charged. So when you look at it, this whole 21-day challenge is charging yourself, right? So before they get charged for the day ahead, one needs to take care of one's own self for that charging to happen, right? So that's the thing. So self-care promotes a sense of well-being that follows making yourself a priority. If you just look at just the statement, it may seem very selfish that, how can I keep making myself a priority? You have to spend time with others, yes. But the thing is, you start planning in such a manner, you set those boundaries so that you have better conversations with whomever you can. Your productivity is increased, you get the desired results, you're restoring your energy, and you're setting boundaries, making yourself the priority. This is very, very something that if you all slowly, understand and do this on a day-to-day basis. And this is not an overnight thing. You start doing it very consistently. And I keep using this. In fact, as one of my colleagues who keeps using it, which I have started using, consistent calendarized efforts. Even in this, we need to start doing, like, when we are talking about behavioral actions, we never make those consistent calendarized efforts. It's only for physics, mathematics, chemistry that we did it. We didn't do this for such things. That's why all that framework and habits, all of that becomes an important aspect. Okay, so these are some tips which are there. Of course, you'll find it. Slow down, keep calm, be positive, take it easy, breathe, have fun, enjoy life, unplug, relax, go outside, smile, meditate. So these are things that I've also told you on. I think, was it, I'm not sure, was it self acceptance or one of those selves where it comes, there's a whole laundry list of things, right? So this is very, short and sort of a sweet kind of a session on what is self-care, and also to understand the differences between self-care and selfishness. And in fact, there's going to be exercises once you get into my community, invest in my courses, there are exercises on each of these, including self-care. How do you do that? There's a framework around that, around activities around that. And this finally actually leads to self-compassion, which we spoke about yesterday. Because when you do this, you will be able to understand the feminine and the masculine side in you, and those activities. Because self-care is also about doing those activities and being very aware that making yourself the priority, setting those boundaries, restoring your energy, and therefore being able to say a no when it's required, not saying yeses unnecessarily when it is not required, right? So let's jump into today's affirmation. And that is, of course, you see the beautiful quote by Ralph, that the only person you're destined to become is the person you decide to be. Because it's very relevant to self-care, because in self-care, when you're setting the boundaries, it is what you're destined to become. If you don't set those boundaries, probably that will not happen. The person you decide will be, you will be what the person you've decided to be, right? So let's look at moving this to the left. Affirmation: I have got to nourish to flourish. I have got to nourish to flourish. So this is something we will repeat thrice. I've got to nourish to, what you've got to nourish yourself. I mean, only if you nourish yourself can you flourish, right? And you come up with a list of as many potential self-care activities as possible. If you can make a list of 20, 30, keep at it. And there is also a list that I've provided in some of the previous classes, which you can pick from there. There are some here, and if what's important is your own natural kind of a list that you start developing, right? Okay, so I'm going to do 3, 2, 1, and we will do the affirmation. I got to nourish to flourish. Okay, so we'll do that. And I want all of you to start together and end together. So that let's try to do it together. Okay, so here I go. I got to nourish to flourish. Okay, so 3, 2, 1.
I've got to nourish to flourish.
Okay, I got to nourish to flourish. So again, 3, 2, 1.
I got
nourished to flourish.
I got to nourish to flourish. Okay, and once again, last time. 3, 2, 1.
I got to nourish to flourish.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much. So let me just end there by talking about the assignment. Come up with a list of as many potential self-care activities as possible for yourself, and then build on that. Okay, so and try to do it on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so wonderful. Thank you so much. And tomorrow we're going to be learning when to say a no. I think tomorrow's session is that. And then there are a few other very interesting topics that I'm going to be coming up with. One is assertiveness. And there are something around unconscious bias, then social bias. And these are all linked to, self-reliance. And then the last day will basically be the how to basically some tips on developing self, because there's so many things that are there. The final day will be tips on self-reliance. So on day 20 and 21, I mean, I'll announce how am I going to be taking these sessions, but you'll all get the videos to see and comment on. Thank you so much. Let's all take a sort of a vow to be self-reliant. Okay. See you tomorrow, 5 p.m. Bye.
Thank you.